Hey guys, have you ever wondered why the US doesn't have really good public transportation? And it might seem kind of like a small thing where US has a culture of freedom where car ownership symbolizes individualism, personal success, while Europeans think about car ownership in a different way. That's why they have good public transportation. And although it might seem simple on paper, the real reason is really deep, and I think it fits into a broader picture where the government designed a system to exploit the working class people. So let me explain why. So transportation is like a really basic human need. Like if even if you're a teenager, where people want to go to work, get food, meet someone, you are an older individual, like you need to go from point A to point B. Transportation is like a basic human need. So what the government did was they created a car-centric design. So if you want to have transportation, which is a basic human need, you need to own a car. And the reason it's exploitative is because your ability to afford transportation depends on your ability to afford a car. And it creates really high level of risk on an individual. So let's say your car breaks down, your car gets totaled for some reason, tree falls on it, or maybe you're a teenager and your parents cannot buy a car. Like there is a really high level of risk which an individual needs to bear because of the car-centric design. And oftentimes, and there is like this marketing propaganda, like the bigger and the better and the nicer and the more muscular car you have, the further along, the higher up in the society you are. So the more look, the rich you look, the the better off you are compared to others. That's kind of like a marketing propaganda given to people. And not only that, there is one more. Going in depth is also fine. Like most people make car payments. The advertising is always $350 a month only, 500 a month. No one talks about the total payment of the car, the total amount you need to pay. So because car ownership is so centric and because of the consumerism, because of being in depth is so normal, oftentimes what people do is they finance their car and they get on car payments. So it's not just the car payments. You gotta also make the insurance premium. You also pay out of pocket for your own expenses for the car repair, services, and everything. And every decade or so, you need to replace with a new car because it's a depreciating asset. So because of these reasons, you end up in a situation where you gotta save some amount of money every month just to being able to afford something really basic like transportation. And the reason I think it's exploitative is because now you're dependent on your source of income. So if you lose that source of income, how are you going to make the car payments? How are you going to meet all those needs? So it wouldn't be a problem if you were making a lot of money, if car payments and all those expenses were like 5% of your total income. It wouldn't really be that big of a matter, but most people in the US make like $70,000 a year, $60,000 a year, maybe close to 80. But 50, 60 is four or $5,000 a month is like an average take-home pay after the taxes and everything. And with that kind of income, when you think about the student loan that we are making, the being able to afford food, rent, and everything, there is not really much money left to allocate to save up and build your own social or like your own safety net if something bad were to happen. So if you're in a toxic job, you might have the freedom to quit whenever you want at any point you want, but because you don't make enough to build your portfolio, build your wealth, you only make enough money to make the payments. You end up in a debt kind of like a situation, a slavery kind of a situation where you cannot really quit your job because the stakes are so high. So that's really the main reason why I think the government deliberately made the choice of not having public transportation, because losing your job, losing your source of income would mean losing something really basic like public transportation. But if you compare that to Europe, if the government made the deliberate choice of having public transportation, everyone, no matter what income status, what family status you have, you will have access to transportation. It will make sure, like, even if you lose your job, something bad happens in your life, there is a social safety net to save you in that scenario. And it doesn't just limits to transportation. Like if you look at healthcare, or if you look something like education, like most people are paying really high premiums for healthcare. You need to have a job in order to have healthcare. You, most people are in student loan debt. You need to make payments for that. So it fits into a broader picture where everything basic necessities like healthcare, education, transportation, food, housing, you need to be in like debt. You need to make so many payments, and you don't make enough money to have your own investment, have built a safety net. So losing a job becomes a really high stakes thing. So the actual employment is really just there to help the employer, and it's their leverage to fire you at whenever they want and to exploit the working class people. So again, it might seem like a really small thing. US doesn't have public transportation, Europeans do. It's a different mindset. No, no, no. It fits into, it's really deep. It's a system designed to keep the working class stuck, and it fits into the broader picture where every basic necessity of the life uh, creates a financial dependency on the individual, and it creates a really high stakes for everyday working class people. And that's kind of like, and coming back, this financial dependency is the main reason why US chose a car-centric design and not built a robust public transportation system. And I do not buy the idea that US didn't had enough money or it was too big of a land that they couldn't build railway networks, have really nice buses or stuff like that. I don't think that's the main reason. People might say it. And the real reason was the which I've talked about, a system designed to exploit the working class. All right. So that's all I have to say for this video. If you're interested in topics like this, be sure to subscribe to my channel and like, comment. You know the drill. Until next time, guys. Peace.